Starts. Starts the discussion round where you will be able to ask Christopher West questions that have been burning on your tongue during this entire event. I'm just going to grab him right now and then we can start the discussion round. Maybe you can take this phone? Yeah? Yeah. Okay, so there is only time for 15 minutes for discussion, so that all of you who work tomorrow will be able to get some sleep during the night. So, if there's any questions, just raise your hands.
Can we turn the lights on so I can see, please?
Könnten wir das Licht anmachen? Perfekt, ich sehe da hinten schon eine Hand, genau. Gibt es hier vorne schon irgendeine Frage?
Thank you.
Great. So you just raise your hand. I'm going to give you this microphone and you'll be able to ask your question.
Maybe they could come and line up front so that we save time.
Okay, perfect. So all of you have a question, just go over there and line up on the left side of the stage. Well, on the right side of the stage from your point of view. Okay. No question?
Yep.
Christopher, you mentioned twice about the church condemning this heresy.
Yes.
I think that I wouldn't be totally wrong in saying that the church has somehow gained the impression that it's also really supporting a particular attitude towards sexuality. There's a filmmaker who I quite admire, a lot of people don't respect, but an Austrian filmmaker called Ulrich Seidel, who's for the last at least 10 years has made films that have had something to do with religion. And he got into quite a bit of controversy because he was representing religion, and particularly a relationship with Jesus, as being a kind of neuroses. And I watched him in an interview where he said that the church is the most suppressive force on sexuality in our society. And I don't know that, not many people are nodding their heads here, but in another situation, this is the reaction you get. And I think it's fair. So while the church has been condemning this heresy and doing a good job of it, what's the church been doing wrong?
I think here you raise a very, very important point that I would summarize as follows. We have to distinguish between the mind of the church and the mind of people in the church. The mind of the church is very clear that the rejection of the body, the rejection of sexuality, is a heresy. But the mind of people in the church has been profoundly affected by this heresy. And it's the mind of people in the church versus the mind of the church that makes the biggest impression. John Paul II, speaking, of course, with the full authority as the Pope, where's my crumpled paper? He actually says that this heresy of throwing the body away out of fear, he calls it a loophole to avoid the requirements of the gospel. Rejecting the body is much easier than it is to do the hard work of uncrumpling what has been distorted. Are you following me? This is hard work, which is why the temptation to Manichaeism is fierce. Because, oh my gosh, it's so much easier just to say, throw that away, and I'm going to try to be holy by living a, quote, spiritual life divorced from my body. That's what we have in the church today. We have a lot of people trying to live a spiritual life, but they're divorced from their bodies. And this is tragic. And it makes a sweeping impression on the world. And so those who say the church is the biggest suppressor of sexuality, I would say they are right in as much as they are thinking of those in the church. But they are wrong to blame the teaching of the church for this error. Is that helpful? Is that a helpful distinction? I would also add this, just to demonstrate how serious the problem is. There's a name for this separation of body and soul. It's a fancy theological term. Perhaps you've heard of it before. It's called death. That's how we define what death is. It's the separation of body and soul. So when we have a church full of people who are living a spiritual life divorced from their bodies, guess what they are? They're dead. Jesus came into the world to raise us to life again, not to confirm us in our death. That error of Manichaeism leads to death. And it is largely responsible for the sexual revolution. I mean, let's be honest. If the only two choices are starve yourself or eat the fast food, what are you going to do? Eat the fast food, for crying out loud, if those are the only two choices. But if there's another way, if starvation and fast food aren't the only two choices, but if there really is a banquet, then let's go for the banquet. You following me? I hope that's helpful. Do we have another question?
Is there any other question?
Right here.
My question would concern the responsibility parents have for educating their children in the beauty of
Yes.
of sex and marital life. And, well, at least in my experience, it's kind of awkward to talk with your parents about sexuality because you don't really want to see them as sexual beings. At least in your teenage years, that's probably what most people experience. So, and I think most of us here, we are parents or will be parents one day. And have you any advice? How can we be prudent about teaching our children, since
Yes.
parents are the first primary educators of our children?
It's a very important question. Thank you. Let me ask everyone this. I understand exactly what you're talking about when you say we don't want to think of our parents as sexual beings, but I want to challenge that. We should thank God every day for the fact that our parents are sexual beings. And we should rejoice in it every day. Why? Because if they weren't sexual beings, we wouldn't exist. Seriously, we should thank God every day for the gift of sexuality and the gift of our parents' sexuality and their parents and their parents and their parents and their parents and their parents. Because every human being is the end result of millions upon millions of sexual unions throughout all of history. God made it this way. And the fact that we find it uncomfortable points precisely to this. The fact that it's gotten twisted up is what makes us uncomfortable. Now, the sexual revolution, responding to that discomfort, says, well, let's just rejoice in this. And John Paul II says, no, there are problems with this. It gets us in trouble. Let's rejoice in this. Are you following me there? What we must teach our children is precisely how to live this reality, how in their own lives they can uncrumple what sin has distorted. But here's the point, a very important point. As parents, we cannot give to our children what we ourselves do not have. I'll put it this way. If we are not feeding our children from the banquet, they will be eating from the fast food because they're hungry. And the fast food is everywhere. And I'll say it again, if it's a contest between starvation and fast food, the fast food wins. But if it's a contest between the fast food and the banquet, the banquet wins. So much more can be said and should be said, but I'll just share this. If something in your heart was sparked tonight, then take it seriously to learn more. Take it seriously to learn more so that we can enter into this banquet and we can share it with others. And maybe I'll just share one example from my own life and how we're trying to pass this on to our children. Not that we do it perfectly. We do not. We make lots of mistakes, as any parent does. But we are trying, and here's one thing we've done for years and years. Our oldest is 16, so we've been doing it for 16 years. Our youngest is 5. And every night when we say prayers, it goes something like this. Thank you, Jesus, for making mommy to be a woman, for making daddy to be a man. Thank you for calling us to the sacrament of marriage. Thank you for bringing John Paul and Thomas and Beth and Isaac and Grace into the world through mommy and daddy's love. Please help the boys to grow into strong men, to give their bodies away in love. Please help the girls to grow into strong women, to give their bodies away in love. If they're called to marriage, please bless their future spouse wherever they are. If they're called to live the gift of themselves through the priesthood or through religious life or whatever it might be, whatever your plan is for them, Lord, please show that to them and help them live it. So that's the prayer that they get every day. And I have seen as they've grown that this has helped form and shape the way they think. We could put it this way. If we are doing our best to lead our children to the banquet, it is less likely that they will be deceived by the fast food. I'll leave it at that.
Thank you very much, Christopher. Thank you very much. At the very end...
We done?
Yeah, we're done. We're done.
I love you all. Please keep me in your prayers.
Yeah, but wait, you stay here. I
have to stay here. I thought I could get off the stage now.
Wait, you just go back there.
Okay.
And Father George is going to give us a little shot right now. Father George, you want to come up? So this is how we usually do it. We've had lots of information right now. This is more than more than two half of liters of beer. And Father George is going to give us the rest with his little shot. Thank you very much.
This is the German translation, so you got to keep doing this. Okay. Just a last idea. There is the best example of Christopher West's last book, which is we have a few copies here, just advertising. You can also get it on Amazon. So fill these hearts, really awesome. But his best example, he didn't tell it tonight, so I got to tell it. It's my shot glass.
You do it in German, I translate it.
Well, Paul has got the translation. You can do it, Or you can do it. You can do it. Okay. Anyway, I was so happy. I was almost in ecstasy the other day because I went to I went around the corner, and in Wien Mitte it has Cinnabon. It's this wonderful. Cinnabon is a aufgemotzte Zimtschnecke. Okay, and Cinnabon is a chain like Burger King, McDonald's, and they have 2 stores open in Vienna, and the third one has just is on the point of opening about 100 meters from where we have our monastery. So the American brother who was with me, we were almost all in ecstasy, when we saw. And Christopher gives this wonderful example about Cinnabons. What do you do when you go to an airport and you eat one of these Cinnabons? And they're so awesome, they're really good, but you eat one and you don't need dinner, and you don't need supper, and you don't need to eat eggs next day. Actually, one Austrian told me he just tried a Cinnabon, he said, Father, it was so awesome. And about an hour later, I felt really sick. And anyway, but in the moment you eat it, you're really good. And afterwards, you've got 3 options, the 3 options we've been talking about all night. And the first is a Stoic option, and it's to say, no, I better eat my cinnamon bun like this because it's tasting too good. You don't want it to taste too good because you can have all these desires start coming up, and you're gonna say, oh no, I better not enjoy the things of life too much. And then you've got the other extreme, which you talked about, which is to say, well, it's the Hugh Hefner thing. It's well, give me 20 more Cinnabons. No, they're so awesome. No, so you eat more and more and more of them. So you have the one extreme which makes an idol out of out of the Cinnabon. You know, you look for your whole satisfaction in a Cinnabon, and the other extreme says, well, better not enjoy it too much. And then you say, well, the third option is to remain in the ache of desire, in dem Schmerz der Sehnsucht zu verbleiben. No? To remain in the ache of your desire for what is given in, you know, what you see within. I mean, it's a kind of in a certain sense, you can say it's a stupid example, but I think it's a great example because it can be, the Cinnabon can be your marriage, it can be your expectations, it can be your friendship, it can be your job, you know. You can look for your fulfilling of your whole desire in your job and work and work and work and work and think that that's what gives you happiness, that that's what gives you peace, that that's what gives you fulfillment, and it doesn't. You know? So it can be a lot of different things as Cinnabon. But the Christian says, no, I'm not going to go into one extreme or into the other extreme, but I'm going to discover in each desire, this desire which, like you were saying all night, is pointing me to God. And that's why my favorite homily from Pope Benedict from last year, he says, Christians, we need to learn anew to enjoy the things of life. Wir müssen lernen oder neu lernen, die wahren Freuden des Lebens zu genießen. And I read that and I thought, wow, a Pope is saying this? He's saying we should be enjoying the things of life. We should learn how to enjoy the things of life. Yes, he's saying that. Because in each thing, the music, the beauty of a Cinnabon, you can discover God. It's so awesome. So thanks so much, Christopher, for coming. Thanks for all of you for coming tonight to Theologie from Voss. And I hope you can digest what has all been said. Maybe one last thing, there was somebody that came up for me tonight and told me about something which I had said in the summer to someone which kind of offended that person, and it made me rethink about a lot of things now during the whole talk, how I approach the whole theme. And so I was really touched by the way that you said, you know, hope nothing I'm saying is going to offend anybody. All you're doing is presenting something and inviting, I think, all of us to think, or better said, maybe to follow the desires that we have. You know, like John Paul II would say, the deepest desires, the yearnings of our heart, they're totally right. So follow them. Thanks.
Christopher,
yes.
We weren't quite sure what to give you as a present afterwards.
Nature's most beautiful reproductive organ.
And we just decided to give you nature's most productive genitals. There you go. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And for the band, the same thing. There you go. Thank you very much.
Please keep us in your prayers. It's been a great joy to be with you.
Thank you.